The next transaction we have is an invoice. If you look at the top, our company name is on the letterhead, so it means that it is our invoice that we're sending out to a client. We're sending this out to Crime Solvers, and let's see if there's no payment, so it is pay later. And so I want us to go to revenues, because remember, when we are sending out an invoice to a client, it means that we have performed services or we have sold goods, and so we have earned money or revenue. Remember that revenue is independent of whether or not we have actually received payment. Anytime we offer a service or we sell goods, we earn revenue. Payment methods may differ. We may be paid later, we may be paid by cash on the spot. It all depends, but the revenue is recorded straight away, and so this is revenue and will be paid later. So I want you to go to the receivables module, click revenues, and the method is pay later. That's the default method. When we put in revenue, the client is Crime Solvers. Let's see if we have that as them in our records. The invoice number is 122, so double check, and also the date, 6 July. I want you to go and select 6 July. We don't have all this information. You would have some of this information when you are working with real accounts at work. We don't have an item number. Quantity 5, and this is hours, so the item description is hours. Well, quantity is 5 hours, but the item description is consultation. And this was a walk-in client. Close bracket. The unit price per hour for consultation is 100. So I want you to go and put 100 into there. Under price, tap that through, and Sage will multiply 100 by the 5, which is quantity, to give you an amount of 500. The tax is calculated, and remember we put a linked account to this client, and that is 4020 revenue for services, so that is automatically populated into there. Tap that through, and you see that our GST is calculated $25, and so the total is 525 that this client owes us. Post. Okay, and close. The next transaction is memo 2, is outlined in memo 2, and so this says, please record the following transactions: credit card sales. Issue record invoice number 123 dated July 7, 2016. Sell to one-time walk-in client, $360 for various types of consultation, plus $18 GST. Invoice total is $378 paid by Chargit. Credit revenue from services. Okay, so this is credit card sales. Well, the minute that we have credit card sale and it's a sale, then obviously we've earned money, so it's revenue. So I want us to go to receivables and revenue. If you click that once, it brings up our client invoice, and payment method is Chargit, because we're told that it was paid by credit card. The client is a one-time walk-in client. Okay, and so just select one-time client. Invoice number is 123. The date is 7 July. So 7 July. Item number, we don't have inventory, so no item number. Quantity is various types of consultation, no exact quantity. So in item description, I want you to write various types of consultation. Various types of consultation. I want you to tap that through. the amount is 360. If you tap that through, the GST should be calculated as $18, and that's correct. Now we need to put in an account here where this money will go to. So we want to put in a linked revenue account, and you know that all our revenue is going to our revenue from services account 4020. So I want you to go into account, I want you to click on that window there, and I want you to put 4020. So scroll down and find it in the drop down menu, and 4020 revenue from services, select and post. Close. Number 2 in memo 2, wedding supplies used in consultation sessions with clients for the past week amounted to $24. Adjust wedding supplies account and change to wedding supplies used, and charge to wedding supplies used expense account. And so this is an adjustment. Remember, we did adjustments when we did paper-based accounting in AME. And so this is what this is. So it's a journal entry. We're just journalizing, and so putting in an adjustment. So I want you to go to general journal. Anytime that we're just journalizing, we're recording something, but we're not really paying or receiving any payment, we go into general journal because we're just journalizing. It's the same as when you receive a bank statement and there's a transaction that has happened in the bank, and you are just recording it in your books. You just go to your journal and record the transaction. It's already happened, so you're not doing anything, but you're just recording it in your books. This is really what we are doing. We're recording the fact that we've used up $24 of our wedding supplies. Now the source of this this journal entry is memo 2. So write memo number 2. Now you have to decide. Remember how we credit and we debit. Credits must equal debits. So for each transaction there will be at least a debit and one credit, right? One debit and one credit. So let's read it again. Wedding supplies used in consultation sessions with clients for the past week amounted to $24. So wedding supplies is an asset account. It was used up. So when we decrease an asset, it is a credit, right? And we want to adjust that and then charge it to wedding supplies expense, because we're going to have an increased, we record an expense, and you know when we record an expense, it's a debit. So we're going to debit an expense account and credit the wedding supplies asset account. So if you remember, when we generalize, we begin with the account that is being debited. So what are we debiting? The expense account. So we want to click on the window, scroll down to wedding supplies expense. So if I scroll down, I see these are my expense account right at the bottom, and one of them is wedding supplies used expense account 5280. I want you to click that to select it. Now we're going to debit that account $24. The comment, so remember, when we make a journal entry, we always have to describe in a neat paraphrase what that journal entry is for. So here, just it's up to you how you word it, but make sure that it's short and it's really very relevant and descriptive. Record wedding supplies used. Okay, here you go. That will do it. And then just tap through. Now the next one will be the account that we are crediting. And remember, we said we are crediting our asset account 1420 wedding supplies. So I want you to click on the window and then go and navigate and find 1420 wedding supplies. Select and we're going to credit that for $24. So Sage will select 24 as the default amount because our credits must equal our debits. So if we debited one account $24, we have to credit another account $24. So the default amount in there is $24. If you agree, then just tap that through, and that's the end of our journal entry. Post. Okay, and close. We're going on to memo 3. So if you navigate down in your handout, memo 3. Please adjust sales invoice number 122. Right, this should be reduced to $400 plus GST from $500 plus GST. This is because our new client will be using our services on a weekly basis, so that their rate will be reduced from $100 to $80 per hour. So we want to make an adjustment to an invoice that we have already written. Now remember how that I showed you before, how we edit an invoice. Now this is revenue because we had sent out an invoice to a customer for services we rendered, so it was revenue. So I want you to go into revenues, so click that, and then I want you to go into that adjust invoice button in the ribbon. Click it once, it brings up the search window. I want you to go and search by client name. Let's see, are we given a client name? It's a new client, so we're not given a client name, but we are given a sales invoice number. So why don't we try to search by invoice number? There we go, it has come up. Invoice number 122. So the client was Crime Solvers, and we charged them for 5 hours consultation at $100 per hour, but we need to adjust that to $80. So I want you to go in and just change $100 to $80 and tap through, and the invoice will be recalculated, so that now we are sending them an invoice for $400 plus GST, so the total is $420, and post and close. Now when you print your financial statements, especially your journal entries, you have the option of showing all journal entries including adjustments like this one, so that we would show first the invoice as it was first posted with $100 per hour charge for the service to that particular client. Would show that invoice, and then would show the adjustment, another journal entry showing the adjustment to $80 per hour. So we can view our journals showing adjustments or corrections, or we can choose not to see adjustments or corrections. So I'm going to show you this. I want you to go into the main window, go into reports, and then go to journal entries, right, and just say all. And if you say okay, the dates are fine, going from the beginning of the fiscal year to the end of our current session, which is 7 July. If you say okay, it will bring up all the journal entries we have made so far, right? Okay, now if you close this, I want you to go back and I'll show you something. Go reports, go journal entries, all. Right in this all journal entries modify report window, under show, you'll see this corrections and additional information. If you click corrections, it will show you the journal entries including any corrections you made and even any adjustments. And so in this one here, which shows corrections, you will see the invoice that was first posted for the last transaction we made. The original invoice was for $500 plus $25 GST, so the client was invoiced $525. Then we were asked to go and adjust it, and then we posted a second invoice that was billing the customer at $80 an hour, and so the invoice was for $420. So it shows both of them when we tick show corrections. So it will be up to you, depending on what you need, to print your journal entries showing corrections or not showing corrections. For our purposes, we don't want to show corrections, so I'll just leave that box unchecked. And so that those are what I would want to see. Close for now, because I'm still entering journal entry, so I don't want to do anything with that. I just wanted to show you. Next, still on memo number 3, girl's crystal centerpiece was shattered when a customer accidentally dropped it. Write off the centerpiece valued at $750. Create a new expense account, $5,100, damaged inventory. Now, this is an adjustment, because what has happened is that we have someone has dropped quite an expensive piece valued at $750, and so our inventory is down by a piece worth $750, but we don't have any income against it, so it's an expense. We're going to expense it. We, as a new company in Sage, we actually don't have an expense account created yet for damaged inventory, so we're being asked to create one. Now you know how to create accounts, so if you wanted to create an account, you could do it through here, which is how we did it before, creating a list of account. So go into chart of accounts in the general module, and then go click the red booklet command, and then it will give you an opportunity to create an account as we did before. But I'm going to show you another way of creating an account. Now, because this is an adjustment, we are just putting in a journal entry. So I want you to go general journal. The source of this adjustment is memo number 3. So memo number 3. The date is 8 July. Now see, this is beyond our current session date, so before we do this, we have to go and change our session date. So I'm going to close out of this journal entry and go into maintenance and change session date. And now I want to change my session date to 15. Ideally I should change it to 14, because Sage prefers that your session day be within the next 7 days. But because my last transactions for this project are on the 15th, I'm just going to push it to a day, because I don't want to have 3 sessions with only a couple of transactions in the last session. So I'm just going to make this second session end on the 15th of July. And so Sage will warn you and say the date entered is more than a week past your previous session date. Is this what you want? And I'll say that's okay, I don't mind. And it will now give you the option of backing up your work so far. The last backup date for your data was 1 July 2016. It was backed up on 5 December 2016 at 11:11. Would you like to back up your data again? No. Okay, I don't want to back up my data again just now. Good. And so we're going to put in that general journal entry again. So click on there. The source of this journal entry is memo number 3. So memo number 3. The date is 8 July. And that's just the date I see on the memo. Now we have a broken piece. So remember that inventory is an asset. So we had an asset account 1420, that is our wedding supplies asset account. Now we have a loss to that, and so we have a decrease in our asset account. So a decrease to an asset account is a credit. So we're going to credit account 1420 wedding supplies. And so what are we going to debit? We're going to create a new expense account, and so of course when we're acknowledging an expense, it's a debit, and so we'll debit account 5100 damaged inventory. So we always begin with the account that we're debiting. So let's look in the window here for an account, and remember we don't have this account, we have to create it. So I want you to go add new account. So this is another way that you could you can create an account. So add new account. The account number is, it brings up an add an account window. Account number is 5100. The name of the account is damaged inventory, so we're going to give it a name. Our memo instructs us on the name to give, damaged inventory. Next, we don't have a GIFI code, so we'll just leave that. Next, is this a heading or total account? No, it is not. It's just a group account, an expense account. Is this an account whose balance will be included in a subtotal, for example, bank A? Yep. We would say yes or no. If we say yes, it may make it a subtotal account, and normally that results in error. So I'm going to say no in there just now. Say next. Select an account class and click next to accept your choice. This is just an expense account. Okay, and say next. Do you want to be able to allocate amounts from this account to projects? Say no. Next. Do you want to omit this account from financial statements if the balance is 0? Say no. You have now finished entering information for this account. To save your changes, click finish. To discard your changes, click cancel. Let's say finish to save our changes. And so there we have it, 5100 damaged inventory. And tab that through. We want to debit that 750, which is the value of the centerpiece that was crushed. And so we will put comment, recording, shattered center piece, and tap that through. Now the next account is obviously the one we want to credit, and we are crediting our asset account, 1420 wedding supplies. Select. The default amount is 750 because our credits must equal our debits, and tap that through. Post and close. We've come to the end of this video. I will go on to memo number 4 in the next video.